In heredity, all the information is stored on the genome and the structure of DNA, and that the end result, after turning the information into proteins, is now you have functioning proteins in the body. And proteins have all types of functions, and they can be classified in these main categories. So there are proteins that are important in structure. That includes collagen in your cartilage and tendons, or keratin in your skin, hair, and fingernails. And there are enzymes. Enzymes are actually the most important category. This would be the widest category if you were to separate these boxes by quantity. Enzymes are biological catalysts. And one example we just looked at is the chymotrypsin, that enzyme that was the tertiary structure. That's important in the digestion of. It's one of the many enzymes that does that, and there are enzymes that moderate just about every reaction in the body. There are hormones that are protein hormones, and there are also non-protein hormones. The steroid hormones are that we looked at that are estradiol and testosterone. Those are not protein hormones, but one protein hormone that we have just talked about is insulin. So insulin is a protein hormone that regulates blood glucose levels. And there are also growth hormones that are proteins that regulate reactions in the body. There are respiratory proteins. We looked at the structures of myoglobin and hemoglobin. Both are important in respiration, or they transport and bind to and store oxygen in the blood and muscle. There's transport proteins like lipoproteins that move lipids in the blood. Lipoproteins are proteins that bind to lipids like fatty acids that are saturated fats and create low density lipoprotein that stack up in the inner walls of the artery, or high density lipoproteins. And these high density lipoproteins bind to the unsaturated, the monounsaturated or good fats, and these move lipids through the body or remove lipids, and they don't stack up. Then there's contractile. I know that says contract, but contractile proteins are involved in muscle function. These contractile proteins I'll get to in the next slide, but this is how every muscle in your body works, from two main proteins that interact and allow for muscle function. Then there are storage proteins. So one important storage protein is casein that stores protein in milk. And these are proteins that store nutrients in the body. Then there are also toxins that are proteins. Now humans don't have any of that, but plants, insects, jellyfish, snakes produce toxins in the form of proteins. There are protective proteins as well. These are immunoglobulins or antibodies, and these will become important when we look at what goes on for a vaccine. Muscle function is moderated by two main types of proteins. These are actin and myosin. Muscle function important in movement, large and small, so if you're running or if you're just moving your finger to write. When you break it down, you have these fibers. So there's also blood vessels in there because the muscles need oxygen. At the molecular level, what you have are these two proteins, a string of what are called actin proteins, and then another separate string of myosin protein. These two work together. This is a single myosin protein, and this is a single actin protein, and they bind together. And what happens in muscle function is that myosin then, when muscle contracts, the myosin moves along the string of actin. As the muscle continues to contract, it moves one direction or the other direction, and that's how muscle contracts or expands. Why do I mention this? Because this is something that I studied when I was in school. In grad school, a few amino acids that were important in the binding of myosin to actin, and that gets to more of the importance of the structures, the three-dimensional structures, as well as the functional groups that are present. And those functional groups are present on side chains of amino acids. So the most common functional proteins are enzymes, and enzymes are biological catalysts, and catalysts speed up chemical reactions. So these biological catalysts speed up reactions in your body, biological reactions. So proteins are made of amino acids, and one reason why it's important to eat protein is to break down the protein and have those amino acids. Those are the raw materials that are needed then for your body to make the proteins it needs. those proteins are synthesized in your body, and those proteins are typically going to be the widest category, which are enzymes that are needed for all the reaction needed in human metabolism. These are catalysts that speed up those reactions on the order of 1 to 10 million times faster than those reactions would happen without those enzymes, without those catalysts. It's thanks to enzymes. We don't have 10 million times longer for these reactions to happen. So we need these enzymes that speed things up on the order of 1 to 10 million times faster, allowing for life at the pace and metabolism at the pace as we know it.